You guys are further back right now. I don't like it. Yeah, you can't. I kind of move up, please. Yeah.
Nick, you guys just went through an entire offseason addressing quite a few areas for your unit. Does it feel like you're coaching a different unit right now?
Yes and no. I think every year in the NFL you're going to have familiar faces and new faces. I love what we did. It brought in really good talent and competition, and that's going to help hopefully get us to play better defense.
Is it one of those things, though, where you look across the defensive room and you're like, wow, this does look very different than last year's did?
Same answer. I mean, yes and no, right? Like, obviously, new faces and familiar ones. So it's about every year like that in the NFL.
We haven't had a chance to talk to you after the draft, but back-to-back years with the first-round pick in your defensive line room, I guess what was your just general reaction to drafting Walt and getting someone there for you?
Yeah, obviously excitement. Sitting there, in my office, or actually we kind of gathered around in PT's office. He's got a big screen headed up, and just hoping that we were able to get Walt, and obviously super excited about the player that he is, the guy that he is, and like you said, that's 2 years in a row at defensive line. I think that just shows the importance of that position. You can really wreak havoc up front in the run game and getting after the quarterback. So critical. And I love where that whole room's at. They're working really hard right now and competing.
I know it's early. I know no pads and all that. But what have you seen from Walt? What has he shown you that you can kind of glean from what you guys are doing?
I knew he was going to be the talent that we saw on tape, but I would say he's very coachable, great to work with. Like, you see him take those coaching points immediately to the field, whether that's an individual or when we're going against the offense. And I can tell he studies hard outside the building because he's got things down pretty fast. So pretty impressive so far.
Nick, what was your reaction when you saw Will Johnson as the pick at 47?
Yeah. Again, I was in PT's office, so big screen. And yeah, it was phenomenal. We obviously love the player, and to get him where we got him, good job, Monty. But I'm excited now, like just getting to work with him in that entire room, another room that's doing a really good job right now.
To be reunited with Josh Sweat, who statistically had some of his best years when you and JG were with him in Philly. What does he bring to this defense? And I guess first is, what was your first conversation with him being reunited?
It was first conversation was typical. Good to see you again. Let's go to work. And I love Sweat. He's a phenomenal person, phenomenal teammate. But the player that he's going to bring, violence in the run game, and that's ever since I've been with him. I put on the tape when we got to Philly of the year before, and I said, holy cow, this guy can set an edge. And then on top of that, he can get after the passer. So that's ultimately what you want out of that position. You want a guy that collapse edges in the run game and gets after the passer in the pass game. So I'm excited to link back up with him.
Nick, when you look at last year, where you guys finished defensively and statistically matched up with the rest of the NFL, you feel like you addressed the positions of need and got those guys in here? And how excited are you to have new faces and new guys in here to maybe step up the defense this year?
Well, I think every year you're looking at a lot of different angles on how we can improve, no matter what the previous year was, whether that's statistically or wins and losses, however you played, you're looking to improve, obviously through free agency and the draft, but you're also looking to improve your own scheme, how you teach techniques, players that we have that are returning, players that are new, how do we get them to play at a higher level? So I think it's all encompassing on how do we take the next step as a defense and as a team.
How does all this new talent, especially up front, change what you are, just to your point, what you're able to do as a play caller?
Well, I think, this kind of goes back to, I think when we first got here, we talked a lot about adaptability, right? And so as years go, as weeks go, you go through training camp, you go through the season, like things can change, and you always have to have the ability to, utilize your best players and what they do best. And so I think that just goes into our overall philosophy. It's not about here's what we do and do these guys fit. It's who are our people, what do they do really well, and how can we bring that out in them. So, it's still very early. We got to keep going through the process of the off-season program into training camp and really then start to say what are we best at and really get better at that and major in certain things, and you kind of minor in some other things, and that can change throughout the year.
When you guys have added all these defensive linemen, quality defensive linemen, and you look at numbers and you say, okay, I'm not sure that this team can keep all of those guys. Is there ever a time when in your head you're thinking we might have collected too many of these, or is that just dumb?
Yeah, no, that's really, it's not my job. I'm focused on getting them as good as to become as good a players as they can be.
You have a handful of new coaches on the defensive side of the ball. How have you seen the guys respond to a new voice in their rooms?
Yeah, it's been good. We've got 4 new coaches on defense. They've all done a tremendous job.
What kind of jump can Darius take from year 1 to year 2 with just 6 games of experience, and what kind of jump do you think he will take?
Well, I mean, I'm focused on the day-to-day, on what are those little things that he can continue to improve to take his game to the next level, run game, pass rush. But, you expect everybody to take those jumps, not just D-Rob, but, veteran guys, young guys in the year 2, rookies, it's just everybody. It's how can we get them better? And then we put it all out there on Sunday. But we're really not focused on predicting what is he going to be on Sundays. It's what can we do today to make us better as a defense on Sundays.
Nick, JG was in here talking about level 3 work earlier.
Yeah.
Said to ask you about that. Do you love it?
Yep. So, I mean, you guys, he's like, level 3, we all know what level 3 is. Like, no, you guys don't know what level 3 is. So that's essentially, there's an old throws coach, Anatoly Bondarchuk, who would set up his training with a pyramid that essentially was working backwards from the sport. So your most specific exercises, the game, is at the top of the pyramid, and then at the bottom is the most general, further away from the sport. And so right in the middle is what we call level 3 because it's the 3rd level of that pyramid. But it's essentially it's working your technique stuff with resisted or assisted or even isometric, holding those positions. So he wanted me to talk about that. So just as a quick education on what are we talking about level 3? Like we like to use that pyramid as a structure to make sure that we're always working backwards from the game, because we never want to do things just because, hey, we've always done it this way, right? Everything has to correlate to the game. And so essentially, like, when you think about this sport, a lot of things what we do on the practice field is we're trying to teach how to drive that car better throughout the track, right? And we're manipulating the tasks when we do drills and stuff like that to force them to drive that car in certain ways that gets the task done. Well, sometimes you need to improve that engine. You need to get more horsepower in that engine too, right? And so essentially when you do those position-specific drills, they serve their different purpose, whether you're doing them holding those positions or doing them resisted or assisted. You're trying to improve the athlete, the player. How much horsepower do they have to go stick their foot in the ground, apply force, and go A to B? So, we've done a lot of that over the 3 years here, and, players love it. They feel like, how can I get them to have more output to get that job done? And sometimes it's not just about putting them through that task and getting them to do that task. Sometimes you got to increase that engine so that they can accomplish that task.
The pyramid, the concept, was that something that JG introduced you to? Or did you hear of it before?
So I was introduced to that by Shay Thompson, our director of performance, when I was probably like 19 years old, to be honest. And Shay brought that here, and that's a model that we use to make sure that how we structure. Shay and JG work pretty tedious about how we program from a load management standpoint and how we progress and the intensities and the densities and the volume that we work. It's all structured to maximize development and maximize health. And so, that's just something that we do to stay on track with, make sure that we're working backwards from the sport, understanding what parts of the training day are specific and close to the game that have high nervous system demands, and then kind of work backwards from that into more of your general training throughout the day, and how do those volumes and stuff shift throughout the calendar year.
Do you tell the guys this is like a level 3 day, or
well, it's part of it. Sometimes I'll get into the defensive room and we'll talk about it, and I usually have to slow myself down and be like, look, if you want to know a little bit more detail about the why, because everything we do, I want to explain the why behind it. But I can get a little nerdy and a little too scientific in there, and I feel like I start to lose some guys. But like, to put simply, like, let's increase our horsepower. And so once they see that and they feel that out there, it's easier in year 3. They've been doing it for 3 years, some of those guys, and they know the benefits of it. But yeah, we'll go through that and explain that. And I like to say, like, I'm never going to ask you to do something if I can't tell you why we're doing it and how it relates to winning. And, the example I like to give is, like, if I tell you you need to brush your teeth with your left hand in the morning, I better not say, like, just do it because I'm telling you to do it. There better be a reason behind it, right? I don't actually ask them to do that. And if I don't have the answer, I'll say, I got to research that and I'll get it to you. But I want them to understand that every single thing that we do is geared towards winning. Because they can only fill their cup up with so much within a day. We better be maximizing what we're putting in that cup.
Do you have specific benchmarks you want to reach during OTAs every day or every week?
Yeah, in my squat, I want to get that thing a little bit higher. It depends on the day. You're looking at and improving, but the way that we set it up sometimes during the off-season program, it moves fast, and there might be some schematic things that you don't necessarily touch after the 3rd day until you get back into training camp. So to me, what you're looking to do is install close to 100% of the techniques and make sure that we are improving every day with our techniques. And then schematically, you want to conceptually put in a lot of things, but it might not necessarily be that full menu. So, whatever we mess up on, we got to use that as a learning experience, whether that's technique or that is scheme. But sometimes those scheme things won't come up again until training camp. So it's not as simple as just this benchmarker, because you're kind of moving pretty fast. Now, once we get to training camp, you're going to want to see execution of each call at a high level to feel comfortable bringing it to a game.
How much with as many snaps as you guys had Kaiser playing, now that he's gone and you're putting someone else in there, how do you approach that? Is it a wide open thing? Do you guys have some thought already over what you might want to do there?
Yeah, I would say everything's pretty wide open. So, like, we talk about roles, and there's really 2 phases of roles. There's competing and there's defined. And roles ultimately aren't defined until going into the first game of the season. And roles can change throughout the season, so you got to continue to perform at a high level. But right now we're in a competing phase. So there's a lot of guys getting an opportunity to go out there and show what their role can be, whether that's for what Kaiser's role was last year or any role on the defense.
In a pretty young quarterbacks room, so especially not having SMB this season, how do you approach the balance of wanting to develop these young players and allowing them to make mistakes and learn from it, and then also having to make the decision of who you think is going to be ready to end up earning that defined role?
Yeah, everybody's going to make mistakes, and you got to look at those as learning opportunities, whether it's a young player or a vet. Ultimately, you're looking for who's going to play at the highest level and give us a chance to win the game, and that's going to determine the roles regardless of years in the NFL.
Well, what stood out about him so far?
A lot of things. Work ethic, 1. Talent, 2. Intelligence, 3, I guess, is pretty simple. But yeah, he's been phenomenal to work with. Honestly, both those rookie corners, Denzel as well. Denzel is in my office at 5-something asking for cups of coffee. Like, they're serious pros. And they've put in a tremendous amount of work so far, and they're going to keep doing it.
JG was talking about coaches that are willing to jump in on drills and take on players, and some of that is necessary this time of year. JG was saying he's kind of anti-doing that because you can get hurt, but he's like...
He's anti-doing that because he can't physically hang. Shots.
Where do you stand on that? Obviously,
we don't want anybody getting hurt. But there are certain things that I know from when I was a position coach, I liked being in that at times because I felt like I knew exactly the look I wanted to give them or the feel I wanted to give them. But there's times where the players have to be able to do that. Like, I think good players understand what it's going to look like when you're giving the look offensively. So, like, I think about like Buddha and Jalen Thompson and Garrett Williams giving slot release reps when we're working slot man as the receiver. like they know what to do because they know what that looks like. And so they're able to give really good reps. Same thing up front, like you're working on certain blocks as a zero nose, like what is the center doing? What is the guard doing? Like we got to be able to give those looks. So there's certain things that if a coach can do the drill, sometimes you can go a little bit more rapid fire and it's good. There's other things that us coaches, we can't replicate. I know I threw a shot at JG, but let's be honest, none of us can really do what the offensive players in the NFL are doing. So there's times where players got to give those looks.
Did you get a chance to meet Kenny Dillingham today, or have you met him before?
Yeah, he's been around here before. I didn't get a chance to talk to him yet today.
What did you think of what they did last year?
Honestly, I'm a little bit head down. It was pretty cool to see how far they made it. I'm rooting for them. Obviously, home team here. Yeah, definitely behind them, hoping for some success this year.
I think we always ask you about your defense for obvious reasons, but Cherry's going into year 3 that you go against them. What excites you about the Cardinals' offense in 2025?
Man, I love the competition we have right now. Like I'm just thinking about the past couple days. Certain guys making contested catches. Trey can't make a catch in practice without looking at me and talking to me. Marvin doesn't say anything. Marvin makes a great catch, and yeah, he doesn't really give me much. Dorsch fires back at me, so it's been a lot of familiar faces that, well, let's be honest, that I've been talking a lot of smack to for a handful of years, and I love going back and forth in practice. And I know, like, even when they make a play in the moment, like I can kind of like, I'm pissed. Like I want to make those plays, but I also know that they're making us better, and they're making those plays, and we need them to make those plays on Sunday for us. So, yeah, I love what we're doing. I know Drew's super innovative. Like every year, there's going to be new things that he presents to us, and I'm like, whoa, what was that? Like, where's that been? Like, I don't even know what to do for that, So, it's good to go against them.
You talk smack to James Conner?
Yeah. It's not very smart, huh? No. But, we talk smack, but at the same time, man, like, that's my guy, James. Man, I love him.
Nick, we'll make this the last one.
What kind of trash talk is the last question? A bad one, honestly. Like it's just it doesn't come out smooth, And but he backs it up though. He does, and that hurts me. That hurts me when he catches balls in practice. Appreciate you guys.
Well, he's got like a projector screen. It's a weird office. It's a unique one.
I do mean it.
Are you excited about all the new guys, the new faces on this team, and how it looks like Monty's made some decisions to really move this team forward?
Yeah, ton of new guys, but all really hardworking guys, great athletes, and I'm excited to see how they can add on to our team and make our team better. And they've had a really good OTA so far, and I'm excited to see those guys grow throughout training camp and into the season as well.
So pretty high right now, then?
Yeah, I think the morale's good. Everyone's excited. We know exactly what the task is in front of us, but confidence. Everyone's very confident. We got the same offensive staff, same guys back. So on the offensive side, we're just excited to grow from where we were last year.
Nick was just saying that you are not that good of a trash talker.
Yeah, that's. I do talk a lot of smack to him. every day in practice I catch a ball and he's the first person that hears it. I'm like, come on, Nick, who's got me? Who's coming? Whatever it is. But no, Nick's great. I love having that little competitive battle with him. He's a lot of fun to compete against.
So how would you rate your trash talking?
Whatever he said, probably a little better than what he said. But we always have a good time, and we definitely do talk a lot of smack. So I really do enjoy competing against his crazy defense every day.
Do you talk more in practice or in games?
Probably in practice because I see these guys every day, and Buddha, JT, those guys that cover me all the time. If I run a good route on them, they're definitely gonna hear it from me, and if they cover me, I'm gonna hear it right back from them. So it's one of those things where we're constantly talking smack to each other, but ultimately we're just making each other better and trying to elevate each other's games in any way that we can.
How much do these OTAs help build chemistry with you and Kyler and you and Marvin, all those others?
Yeah, I think this is the foundation of how you start the season. You get the timing, you get the offensive linemen, working on these blocks together, combination blocks. You get the timing with Kyler, and just being out there and seeing the defense and running routes again and catching the ball from Kyler. Everything, it just kind of get that gel back, get that flow, everything. But I'm excited to see where this offense can go.
Where, in your perspective, is Marvin going into year two?
Yeah, the sky's the limit. This guy's a freak athlete and obviously does everything the right way. He comes in, he works hard, stays about his business, and is just a tremendous person, athlete, all the above. So I'm excited to see where he can take, his game this next year.
You were a guy that took a big jump from year 1 to year 2 and even more to year 3. What changed? I know, a lot of people say that it's almost a cliche. There's a big jump from year 1 to year 2. But what changes? What changed for you? What can change for Marvin?
I think it's just comfortability of being in this league, understanding what defenses are doing, what the game looks like, the flow of the game, and obviously that chemistry with Kyler, that's important too. And I think for Marvin, he puts in the work, he does everything the right way, and that connection him and Kyler have is just going to continue to grow with time. And I think just the game slows down for most people in that second year. They start understanding the game. They start seeing defenses a lot faster and understanding how to get open, whatever that may be. I think Marvin's, obviously very talented, and the sky's the limit. I'm really excited to see him make a huge jump this year. Obviously, he had a great rookie year, so a big jump would be, massive.
I know stats aren't necessarily what you're staring at for yourself. I'm wondering what you think this offense looks like if, for whatever happens, Marvin jumps a little bit or Michael jumps, their stats go up, yours might come down a little bit. Does that change a lot? Do you think what this offense looks like?
No, I think there's so many guys on this offense that can make plays, and I think that's what makes us so unique is Michael can go off for 100 yards. Greg Dortch can go for 100 yards. James Conner can run for 150. The sky's the limit for our offense. There's all these guys are so good. They can all make plays. And, maybe I have 10 catches one game, and the next game I have 2 catches, and Marvin has 10 catches, and whatever it may be. But Kyler's going to get the ball to the right people. He's going to go through his progression, and he's going to get the ball to where it needs to go. And whether that's to me, Marvin, Mike, Dorsch, whoever it is, I'm confident in all these guys that they can make plays and make this offense as good as it could be.
After the year that you had last year, what kind of jump do you want to take this year?
Yeah, I think for me, just being the same person I've continued to be, consistency is big for me. The great ones do it all the time, and for me, it's no secret anymore that what they're going to do, they're going to get me the ball, and it's like now I just got to continue to make plays when the ball comes to me and continue to grow as a player, a leader on this team, and really elevate my teammates around me, because it's no secret defenses know what we're going to do, and I just have to continue to be me and go out there and make plays.
During the season, we talked a lot about you not having any touchdowns until week whatever it was. Is that a focus this offseason?
Not at all. I just really just want to go out there and make plays, do whatever I can, and if the ball finds me in the end zone, it finds me in the end zone. If I have 110 catches with no touchdown this year, that would be crazy too. But whatever happens, happens. I'm just going to go out there and make plays for our offense, and hopefully I find myself in the end zone a few more times.
Back to stats, it's conceivable you could have a couple 1,000-yard receivers on this team, another 1,000-yard rusher in James, and Kyler throws for 30-plus TDs, maybe 3,500 yards. What is that? What kind of season is that?
I think that, Kyler, obviously, one of the best athletes I've been around. He's a guy who's a first overall pick. He, does everything the right way. He's tremendous. So for him, I mean, the sky really is the limit. He can do anything. I've seen him make tremendous passes. I've seen him do all of that. So I'm confident that he can throw for however many yards he wants to throw for. He can rush for just as many. And like I said, Marvin, Mike, Dortch, we have so many weapons on this offense, and I'm just so excited to see how Drew and Kyler, they decide to get this ball distributed to all these guys, because there's so many weapons, and they can't cover us all. And if they try to, double one guy, then the other guy's going to be one-on-one. So I'm confident in all of our guys to win one-on-one matchups. I'm confident in all of us to, go out there and make plays when the ball comes to them, and I know that's going to happen this year.
Trey, who are you most looking to catch up with at Tight End University, and how much value do you get from that experience playing with your peers?
Yeah, Tight End University is a cool place to go, just to be around all the guys in the league, to learn, to grow, and to see how all these other tight ends maybe view the game. And obviously George is a guy I always look forward to talking to. I'm sure he's going to have something to, tell me about him, beating the contract, whatever. But George is great. We always have a fun time when we're together, and they put on a great event out there in Nashville. So I'm excited to, bring these guys with me this year, and a lot of us will be out there, supporting that event here in a couple weeks.
To have as much consistency as this offense has with the players and the coaching staff, the play caller, and Petzing, how much more advanced can this offense be at this point in the offseason because of that continuity? Yeah,
it already is. I could tell from the first year they were here to where we are now, the plays they're putting in, it's not as fundamental, it's not as basic. They're adding a lot of motions and a lot of, sauce is what I call it, just putting a little, extra flavor on the same plays that we have, maybe motion guys to it, running different guys and different things. So definitely a lot more complex. Trying to stick to our main, concepts that we have, but dressing them up in different ways, whether, one guy's running a motion or some guy's doing a route, but it's all kind of the same concepts, just different ways to get to it. So, yeah, this offense can be very complex, and the way that Drew and these guys have changed throughout the offseason and continue to build it, it's been a lot of fun, and I'm excited to, see us in action here.
I saw you out there talking to Kenny Dillingham. What was that like? And kind of looking a little bit.
Yeah, Kenny's great, man. I've got to know him a little bit. Just obviously the tremendous season they had. Huge fan of what he's doing over there at ASU, but just got to know him as a person. Got to play golf with him a couple times. He's a funny guy, tremendous guy, loves to have fun, and it was cool to see him out there at practice. So got to catch up with him, and excited to continue to cheer him on in this next season.
Who else are you taking with you to tight end?
I think I invited the whole room. I don't know who's coming. I think Tip, Elijah, maybe Josiah, but I invited all those guys, so I would love if all of them would come, but obviously, they need a summer too.
You said there's no secret anymore that Kyler's going to get you the ball. Could you start to feel during last season any shift in attention your way with the numbers you were putting up?
I don't know if it was a shift. I think it was just, understanding what defenses are trying to do, how they're trying to cover me, who they're trying to cover me with, and then me just going out there and winning my matchups and understanding that, because it's not the same in every game, who's covering you, what you're trying to do, how you're trying to win, whatever that is. So just taking it week by week and understanding what the team's trying to do and how they're trying to defend me, and ultimately just trying to get open for my guy Kyler.
How much was your heart racing from the D-backs first pitch?
Yeah, no, that was nerve-wracking. I threw that first pitch, and I played baseball, my whole life, and man, when you get out there for that first pitch, you just kind of forget how to throw a ball. You're like, damn, don't throw this in the ground. The only thing the only thing through my mind is don't throw it way too high, don't throw it way too low, and you don't have to put that much heat on it. You just got to get it to the guy. So that was a lot of fun. Unfortunately, they lost that game, but it was still a cool experience just to go out there and throw that first pitch in front of the home crowd.
What's your impression of the rookies on defense, and how much do you kind of challenge them, especially right now, to kind of grow the game?
Yeah, they're good, especially up front. There's a lot of big, strong guys that they brought in, and a lot of those guys are new faces. So I'm excited to see Walter. I'm excited to see these guys play, because they're huge, they're strong, and I know that what they did in college, and I'm excited to bring that here to our team. But obviously trying to screw with them a little bit, with my alignment, trying to make them think more than they have to, trying to see what they got, and but most importantly, just trying to help these guys grow, because ultimately they're going to help us win games.
Thanks,
guys.
Thanks, man. Thank you.
Let's say 10 times. You said right now, right? You said 30 plus. I was like, all your Just leaned over here.
Oh, how's it going?
What's sort of your message to all these rookies on defense, going back to your rookie year, about the adjustment to playing in the NFL?
You just got to take it one day at a time. It probably seems like a lot of information to them, all the new stuff they're learning. Some guys, maybe they haven't played and they've played that position before, or haven't, maybe done the things that we do have here out of the position. Same for D-line and, other positions on the defense. So, you got to take it one day at a time and just focus on, like, kind of the daily task of what we're doing, and then understanding, like, what our assignments and fundamentals are. And that's really it. You just build on the process. Some of these guys, it's their third, fourth week out here, So it's something that, you see them get down a little bit, but you just got to keep growing. That's really all it is. So I'll tell them.
Zaven, does it feel like a long time ago or not that long ago that you were in those shoes?
5 years is a long time, I feel like, yeah. In the league, anyways, yeah. In the league, 5 years is a long time. I think about, like, the things and, the mental struggles that I had. That was probably, like, my most mentally tough year that I had was, my rookie year, because you come from, it's all over the place. You get drafted, you're on your highest high, and then, you're in the league, and you get humbled very quick. You know what I mean? Because some of the guys that you play against have been going at this, they've played 100 games or however many games, so they get a lot of time under their belt.
This time of year, is there any difference in the level of trash talk in the summer versus once you guys get into training camp for the season?
Against, like, going against the offense and stuff? Yeah, you just kind of, just get at them a little bit. Nothing crazy, nothing too crazy. Me and Fro were talking today. He's like, don't get too smart, Zaven. We were talking about, I was trying to, get after their protections and scheme things up, what they allow me to do on just basic stuff, basic pass downs. And so we talk trash like here and there, and, how we can just try and make ourselves better. But, yeah, for sure.
Does some of that come with, Froholt's been here a couple of years, you've been here a
while,
oh, yeah. The continuity of guys on both sides?
Yeah, he's so smart. So, like, these guys that are super smart, you try and pick their brain and, listen to what they say and what they do, and then pick up on, what they see, and then how can you acquire it to your game. That's really all it is, and then just share that with the room. That's really what it is. What do they think on this protection? What are they thinking on this situation? And that's really it.
With all the additions on defense, does it feel like you guys are in a different spot defensively, or does it just feel like you added pieces to something that you've already been building?
Definitely added pieces to things that we've been building on. It's not like we changed the entire defense. We're adding great players and great roles to every part of the defense. Whether they're young, old, played a lot, haven't played a lot. I think everyone's a really good player that we've added so far. I think everyone has the right mindset and right attitude when they come in. So that's the first step of having that and being, willing to learn. And, not being mad whenever someone who's been here for a while, comes up to you and says, hey, I know this or whatever. They don't get mad. They're just like, yeah, okay. And then we just grow from there, and we grow as a defense. The same for me. Maybe I've someone who's coming from a different team or a different defense. There's things that I can learn from them as well.
I don't know how much you pay attention to all the particular offseason moves as they're going. Obviously you're going to know them eventually, but like to go into an offseason and to have all the big free agent signings be on defense, and then most of the draft be on defense. Do you kind of get excited about that kind of focus on helping you guys out?
Yeah, you have to. You get new guys that you're going to be able to play with, and a lot of young guys too. So it's like, that's the thing about with the young guys. It's like they're great players, great athletes, and they have just like, it's not that they have a lot of unlocking to do with their potential. You know what I mean? If that makes sense. There's like next steps that each one of them have to take, and helping them just get confidence and focus to be able to do that. So that's definitely a way that I've learned. I think about. So you guys are asking about my rookie year, thinking about what people would say to me, whether it was JJ or someone else, what they would say to me to try and just unlock the potential. You know what I mean? So that's really what it is.
In the 5 years you've moved around, you've talked about how you play a lot of different spots, but now to have the consistency of when this coaching staff got here and wanting to play outside more, just this off season, do you feel like you've been able to take steps in different parts of your game just because you have that consistency of what you're going to be doing and what's going to be asked of you?
Well, I still do a lot of crazy stuff. I still do a lot. Like I'll line up in the A gap and still drop. Yeah, Nick likes to stretch the limits of how hard can we make this drop. Yeah. But no, for sure, like the consistency and, the way we play things and how they want to play, they make it very simple for, guys to be able to be in that defense, especially a bigger body guy that has to drop and what they ask of us. They're very cognizant of what they want us to do and how they want us to do it. They're really good about that. And then it's very comfortable for me because, I come from that background of dropping and being off the ball and then being able to rush and, simplifying a rush plan for me and what they want me to do and how they want me to execute certain things. It doesn't have to be a million different moves. It could be one to three and then just have a really good execution of those and have switch ups throughout the year. So, yeah, it has been helpful in that way. But, no, they still have me go all over the place.
Do you think is he doing that with multiple guys, or does he see something special in you?
Yeah. There's not too many guys I'd say like that do on the defense that do some of the crazy jobs. We haven't got into that yet. But no, it's just like the way that they want to scheme up pressures or scheme up, looks or techniques. So I don't argue with it. Just whatever I could say. There was an instance last year where is a middle read. It's like Tampa 2. I'm running the middle, and you have to guard the fastest. Usually the two fastest guys on the field is 2 and 3. And he's like, "Don't worry, Tyreek's not going to be at 3." And the first play, I look over, Tyreek's at 3. He's screaming up the field. So it's like, you know what I mean? It's some of those instances where it's like, oh yeah, you got to get out early. Whereas rookie, I probably would have waited till the ball snapped. I'm not waiting till the ball snapped. Guy runs a 4.2, 4.3. Get out of there. Get out of there. So it's like one of those. It's one of those things. You learn that as you go on and being able to, the ability to do your job. And you know what I mean? I don't ever argue with any of that stuff. It's fun to do. I like doing it and like being able to scheme things up, let other guys be able to blitz, do it all that. So
with somebody like Jordan coming in, can you give him any advice on stuff like that, or is that something he has to experience himself?
Yeah, definitely. He calls me Unc. I'm only 26. He's 23, I think. Yeah, I'm like Jordan. You're 3 years apart. D-Rob does the same thing. But I don't know. I just because I've experienced a lot of football here. I've learned a lot of football here through multiple coaching staffs, and I've always kept notes and paid attention to the game and what coaches say, what the defensive coordinator's thinking, and I try and give them tips in my own words as a player so they can understand it, and what the coach means. Try and be a translator sometimes. For a new guy, it's hard when they got 15 guys coming at them telling them different stuff to do. It's easy to get overwhelmed. So for a young guy, just tell him to focus on one thing at a time and, make new mistakes every day. Jordan's been unbelievable in the learning process. He's been trying his best to, understand all the stuff, and that's an instance. And, he's like, man, this. I was like, listen, that's part of it. You're going to have to get over it. Being overwhelmed as a rookie is part of it. It happens to everyone. There's, very few guys walk into the league and know unless you come from, unless your coach was a defensive coordinator in the league or still played that in college, which is very unlikely because of the way college football is. But yeah, so it is different.
You talked about how that voice could unlock a part of somebody's game in that outside linebacker room with Coach Feeney now. How has that new voice unlocked maybe something in your game or just the overall vibe of the room?
Yeah, Feeney has a really good knowledge of the game. He talks about things that, maybe some, position coaches wouldn't talk about, and, gives us really good tips and tricks of what to think, all pre-snap stuff. Now, once a ball snap, anything can happen. You can be completely wrong. I've been completely wrong numerous times of what I think is going to happen. But, just having relentless effort, and then his rules and stuff that he gives us, are must, what we have to do, run to the ball, be violent, stuff like that. But having him in the room new and learning all the things that he's, learned in the past and from being around other guys, he's been around great pass rushers as well. And then, great coordinators and in good defenses. So learning everything that he's teaching us is awesome.
What have been your early impressions of Josh Sweat, and what does he immediately add to that room?
Yeah, Josh has obviously watched any game last year. In the previous years, he's an unbelievable pass rusher, great dude. Talked to him a lot of times. One of the first things he's asked me, because we stood up, we introduced ourselves. I was like, man, if you guys like to hunt, fish, shoot guns, just let me know. He comes up, he goes, where are the fishing spots? I was like, okay, we're going to get along. So it was pretty cool. He's a really laid-back guy, awesome dude, great athlete. His knowledge for the game is unreal as well. And his he's just relentless in pass rush, and the way he gets through blocks and around the edge. It's, there's some situations where you watch, you're like, man, I don't really think and then bam, he's in on a sack. So it's pretty cool to watch and be around.
Have you had a chance to fish with him yet?
What?
Where are the good fishing spots?
I've only been to a couple, but I've been up to Saguaro, and then I've been to the Salt River, which kind of leads through Saguaro. But yeah, it's cool. There's a lot of wild horses up there and stuff. I got lost. Yeah, thank God I had a Garmin.
Zaven, you posted the kind of behind the scenes of Trey getting that call. What was it like just kind of being there and getting
Yeah, so there was two instances. There was the first instance we were golfing, and that's, I guess they were negotiating and stuff like that or whatever. And then you can't say anything at that point. Obviously, this is all past. But he was like, dang, Zaven, I need to golf with you more. They just called about the contract. I was like, yeah. And then the next time we called, he goes, dang, we finally signed. I need to golf with you more. So it was funny. It was like, yeah, the first time we played, they were talking about the numbers that he was wanting. And the second time, it was actually during, hey, we're about to go sign this thing. Well, that's not what, that wasn't what was crazy. The crazy part is he got the call, and then he chipped in for par. And then the next hole he birdied, and then the next hole he parred. And then shot like a great score of like an 80 that day, not even locked in, which kind of pissed me off because I was struggling. I was like, Trey, you signed a huge deal and then just chipped in. I was like, you're very lucky right now. Obviously, there's nothing with luck on the big deal. He worked for that. But the chip, he did not work for. He chipped in. Yeah, but it was awesome. Yeah, it was hilarious. He was like running. He's like running gassers across the fairway. It was funny.
You said you gave him a double for picking up?
Yeah, he picked up the round. He was beating us all by 4 strokes. I'm not going to give you a bogey. He's laying 3 from 150 out.
James, you mentioned something today about level 3 stuff. When would you jump over and do that? Is that like more of a rookie thing, or would you do that during the season?
No, level 3 is all. Everyone does that, so it's more position specific stuff with I don't know if we can get into it, but with certain things that we do to help our position specific and retain force and apply more force to when we're in certain positions with our body. That's my best explanation. But it's something that we do every off season and then a little bit in the preseason. For me, that's really been helpful. I might continue it into the season, depending on how the body feels and stuff like that. But yeah, it's actually been really helpful across everyone. The explosiveness and how guys get out of their stance and stuff like that. That's really where you see it. DBs for them getting out of a break, whenever you see them put the foot in the ground, they turn the other direction. How do they do that? It's just stuff like that.
Last year, Darius was talking about how he was coming to you specifically for help, whether that was when he wasn't playing or when he was back on the field, just getting tips and tricks. So to see him now going into year 2, he was talking about how he's put on some muscle. What have you kind of seen from him in this early part of the offseason? Yeah,
obviously last year there was a lot of things that went on in his life outside of football, and then also with football, dealing with injuries that any player, any athlete that would struggle to go through. He handled that to the best of his ability. Great dude, great learner, great athlete, and he's made strides. Obviously he was here all offseason. I tell guys all the time, I was like, you live in Arizona already, and you can come to the facility in the offseason. You don't need to pay to go anywhere. Buddy's one of the best. Evan's one of the best strength coaches. We have great PTs and physical therapy, or athletic trainers. So he just stayed here off season. Same. I didn't tell Marv this, but Marv already did it. Same with Marv. I do the same thing, and they make huge strides physically. And then whenever they are here, going over the playbook whenever we can, me and him talking about it, and then making strides on the mental side of the game, and then applying it while on the field. So he's made huge strides. Yeah, I'm excited for him to have a really good fresh start this season. Go into training camp healthy, go through training camp, God willing, and have a great season.
Because of the versatility that they rely upon you for, statistically, you're not a guy that's just a sack artist. You don't just get to rack up sacks. What do you look at after the season and you could deem maybe your season's success?
I don't know. Yeah, it'd be a weird thing. So for me, it'd be like just executing plays and making plays when I'm supposed to. If I'm supposed to get home on a blitz, then I need to get home on a blitz and pressure. Even if it's 4 down, still need to go get sacks. Not that it's that. Rushing through when I'm rushing in between the tackles and stuff like that, applying pressures to the quarterback, getting in the quarterback's face, allowing games to be ran and doing the things that are asked of me. Being on the D line, because I flip in and out, that'd probably be the biggest one whenever in between the tackles is applying pressure to the quarterback and then also getting sacks that way. On the edge, obviously winning, you want to win, and then in certain third down situations, whatever it's third and long, third and short, dropping and then creating, breakup, stuff like that, and being where I'm supposed to, If you're dropping in coverage and the ball's not thrown to you, that means, you're probably doing a good job. If the ball's thrown to your man, it's probably not doing a good job. So someone told me that a long time ago. I was like, man, I didn't really think about that. So, but yeah, so just doing those things right. Yep.
Were you successful in the Tyreek Hill play?
I was. They didn't throw to him. I was about 10 yards in front of him, and he was moving at me quick. Yeah.
Thanks, David.
Thanks, guys.